There's a kind of silence that doesn't comfort. It haunts. A silence so calm it feels unnatural. That's the silence of a man who's done explaining himself. No yelling, no arguments, no long paragraphs trying to fix what refuses to be fixed. Just quiet, deliberate, final. Because when a man truly walks away, it doesn't look dramatic, it looks peaceful. And that peace terrifies people who thrive on chaos. Modern relationships are addicted to noise, the endless debates, the emotional outbursts, the cycles of fighting and forgiving. For many women, conflict is how they connect. The argument keeps him engaged. The tension keeps her relevant. Every reaction from him is proof he still cares. But what happens when he stops reacting? When his voice doesn't rise? When he doesn't text back paragraphs or defend himself anymore? That's when panic sets in. Because his silence means something they can't manipulate: acceptance. See, most people think anger is the opposite of love. It's not. Anger still means you care enough to fight. The real opposite of love is indifference. And when a man reaches indifference, there's nothing left to control. That's what walking away calmly represents. The death of control. He's not trying to prove a point. He's not trying to win. He's simply done giving energy to things that drain him. And that's what makes him powerful. In a world where everyone's screaming to be heard, a man who doesn't need to explain himself becomes magnetic and dangerous. Because you can't guilt him. You can't provoke him. You can't shame him back into submission. His peace becomes his shield, and his silence, his strength. Women who once thrived on emotional attention suddenly feel invisible. They throw words like knives just to get a reaction. But nothing cuts deeper than calm indifference. Because when a man no longer reacts to manipulation, he forces the other person to face themselves, their insecurities, their fears, their dependency on drama for validation. That's why modern women can't handle men who walk away calmly. It's not rejection they fear. It's irrelevance. It's the loss of emotional power. The realization that their chaos no longer moves him. And here's the irony. The calmer he gets, the louder the world becomes. Friends call him cold. Society calls him detached. But peace is not detachment. It's mastery. It's the moment a man realizes he doesn't need to fight for understanding because silence says what words never could. So, when you see a man walk away, quietly, don't mistake that calm for weakness. It's the calm that comes after the storm, the calm of a man who's been tested, broken, and rebuilt. He's not angry, he's free, and in that freedom, he becomes everything the modern world can't control. Silence is not emptiness. It's energy, condensed, contained, and understood. Most men don't start off quiet. They start off expressive. They try to explain, to reason, to fix. They think that if they can just find the right words, they'll be heard. But eventually, every man learns the same truth. Some people don't listen to understand. They listen to react. That's when he stops wasting his breath. See, when a man gets quiet, it's not because he's weak. It's because he's evolved past the need to prove his worth through noise. He's realized that peace isn't found in convincing anyone. It's found in mastering himself. And that mastery unnerves the modern world. Because we live in a culture where attention equals power. The louder you are, the more you're noticed. The more you react, the more you matter. So when a man becomes still, when he stops participating in the chaos, he threatens the entire system built on emotional volatility. A calm man is dangerous because he's unpredictable. You can't sway him with guilt. You can't lure him with validation. He's detached from the game. And people who live off reaction can't stand that kind of power. That's why silence feels so heavy, because it exposes what words were hiding. You can argue with a man who shouts. You can manipulate a man who explains. But you can't move a man who simply looks at you and says nothing. His silence becomes a mirror. It reflects everything. Your intentions, your insecurities, your truth. And that reflection is unbearable for people who hide behind emotion. This is why modern women often panic when a man goes silent. They're not used to composure, they're used to chaos. They mistake stillness for distance, when in reality it's discipline. Because walking away in peace requires more strength than staying to argue. Holding your tongue demands more power than raising your voice. And not reacting, in a world that rewards emotional explosions, is the ultimate form of control. He's not trying to win anymore. He's trying to end the cycle. He's choosing clarity over conflict, purpose over pride, and peace over performance. That's what silence really is. Not retreat, but refinement. It's the line between self-respect and self-destruction, the border between who he was and who he's becoming. When a man learns to be silent, he's not losing his voice. He's reclaiming it. Every quiet moment becomes a declaration. I don't need to explain myself to be understood. And that realization, that level of calm, is the kind of strength that can't be faked and can't be controlled. Because the man who has mastered silence has already mastered himself. Every relationship has an unspoken rhythm, the push and pull of emotion, the subtle exchange of power. And for many modern women, that rhythm is built on reaction. If she cries, he comforts. If she yells, he defends. If she withdraws, he chases. That rhythm makes her feel secure, not because it's peaceful, but because it's predictable. She knows exactly what buttons to press and how he'll respond. His emotions orbit hers, and that gives her a sense of control, a sense of relevance. But when that cycle breaks, when he doesn't chase, doesn't defend, doesn't engage, her world tilts. Because without reaction, there's no rhythm. Without rhythm, there's no control. And that's what calm men destroy. The illusion of power through emotional manipulation. You see, control doesn't always look like dominance. Sometimes it looks like dependency. It's not about physical power. It's about psychological leverage. Whoever controls the reaction controls the relationship. And for years she's had the power. Not through force, but through emotion. Tears, guilt, silence, criticism, withdrawal. Each one a test, each one a way to measure his devotion. But the moment he stops reacting, the test fails. Because the test only works on a man who's still seeking her approval. A calm man doesn't need to win the argument. He's already won the war within himself. And that terrifies her. Because now her influence fades. The emotional hooks she once used to reel him back no longer sink in. Her tactics, the ones that worked on every man before him, bounce off like waves against a stone. He's no longer affected. He's awake. When a man stops playing the game, the player loses purpose. That's the moment modern women confuse his peace for punishment. They say, he's cold, he's heartless, he doesn't care. But what they really mean is, I can't control him anymore. They call his detachment disrespect because they can't understand how love could exist without submission. But calmness isn't cruelty. It's clarity. He's not walking away to hurt her. He's walking away because he finally sees what the chaos costs him. Every argument, every apology, every compromise that bent his spirit a little more. He's done paying that price. She thought she wanted a strong man. But strength, when it's quiet, doesn't feel romantic. It feels unreachable. And that's what breaks her. Not his anger, not his absence, but his indifference. Because deep down, she knows the truth. The man who no longer reacts is the man she can no longer reach. And in a world built on validation and attention, there's nothing more terrifying than a man who has learned how to walk away, calmly. Silence doesn't just end arguments, it exposes people. Because when a man stops reacting, the noise that once filled the space between them disappears. And all that's left is a mirror. A calm man's presence reflects everything the other person has been running from. her insecurities, her need for control, her dependence on validation. When she can no longer feed off his reactions, she's forced to sit with her own. And that's the moment most modern women start to unravel. See, emotional chaos has always been a convenient distraction. If she can keep him spinning, she never has to face her own stillness. If she can keep him explaining, she never has to question why she needs constant reassurance. But when he stops, when he looks at her and says nothing, the silence feels suffocating. Not because it's empty, but because it's truthful. Silence strips away the performance. It removes the mask. Every excuse, every justification, every manipulative tactic loses its meaning. Because now, she's not arguing with him. She's confronting herself. And the mirror never lies. It shows her the ways she's pushed away good men. It shows her how her own fear of vulnerability turned love into control. It shows her that maybe it wasn't him. That's why she calls him cold, distant, emotionally unavailable. It's easier to blame his composure than face her own reflection. Because the truth is brutal. His silence didn't hurt her. It revealed her. The calm man becomes a mirror not through intention, but through mastery. He's not trying to teach her a lesson. He's just done performing. He's learned that energy spent defending himself is energy wasted. That some people only listen when you stop speaking. And in that stillness, she sees herself for the first time. Her guilt, her pride, her emptiness. The patterns she thought she controlled now stand exposed. That's why she panics. Not because he's gone, but because she can finally see why he had to leave. And yet, there's something magnetic about that kind of peace, because deep down she envies it. She envies the man who can stay grounded while she's crumbling, who can observe without judgment, who can detach without hatred. He becomes everything she couldn't master, calm, centered, untouchable. The mirror effect changes them both. For him, it's confirmation. Peace was the right choice. For her, it's confrontation. Peace was the thing she never learned to live with. And maybe that's the cruel beauty of silence. It doesn't punish. It reveals. Because when a man stops arguing, he's no longer trying to be understood. He's letting the truth speak for itself. And in that reflection, she finally realizes the noise was never him. It was her. Every game ends the same way, when one player stops playing. For years, she's relied on reaction to feel relevant. Conflict became communication. Drama became connection. Every raised voice, every argument, every apology was proof that she still mattered. Because as long as he was fighting, she still had influence. But when he stops, when he simply stands, looks at her and says nothing, the game collapses. No reaction, no validation, no emotional fuel, just calm. And calm, to the chaotic, feels like cruelty. She'll try everything. The tears, the anger, the accusations. She'll say, "You don't care anymore," not realizing that his calm isn't apathy. It's acceptance. He's not walking away to punish her. He's walking away because he finally sees that peace costs less than persuasion. That's the difference between a man who leaves emotionally and a man who leaves spiritually. One storms out of the room. The other outgrows it. The man who walks away calmly has already done his grieving. He's cried, argued, reasoned, and now he's finished. No closure, no explanation, just stillness. And that stillness drives her insane, because she can't manipulate silence. She can't control what doesn't react. His peace becomes her punishment, not because he intended it, but because peace exposes chaos. She'll say he's cold. She'll call him detached. But deep down, she feels something she can't name. Respect. The very thing his anger could never earn, his calmness commands. Because nothing is more powerful than a man who knows when to stop giving energy to what drains him. In that moment, She realizes something. The game was never about love. It was about control. She didn't need his heart. She needed his attention. And now she's lost both. He's not looking back anymore. He's not explaining why. He's not trying to make her understand, because understanding doesn't heal disrespect. Only distance does. And that's where his strength lies, not in the leaving, but in how he leaves, calmly, completely, without resentment, without revenge. Because real closure doesn't come from a conversation. It comes from acceptance. He's not her opponent anymore. He's not her lesson. He's his own beginning. The game ends not with a bang, but with quiet. Not with a door slammed in anger, but with footsteps fading into peace. And as she stands in the silence he left behind, she realizes that all her noise, all her control, was never power. It was fear. Because the man who walks away calmly is the man she'll never forget. Not because he fought for her, but because he finally chose himself. When a man walks away calmly, the world assumes he's given up. But in truth, he's just begun again, this time with himself. Because the calm that comes after heartbreak isn't emptiness. It's rebirth. It's clarity. It's the stillness that follows the storm. Not because the storm is over, but because he finally realized he doesn't have to live in it anymore. He no longer fights to be understood. He no longer tries to fix what refuses to heal. He's done explaining his value to people who only saw it when they could control it. Now, he understands something sacred. Peace is not passive. Peace is power restrained. The man who walks away calmly isn't cold. He's focused. He's learned that silence protects what noise destroys. That walking away doesn't mean weakness. It means wisdom. Because love without respect becomes servitude. And forgiveness without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. He's not bitter. He's balanced. He's not detached. He's disciplined. He's no longer chasing validation. He's cultivating vision. The time he once spent proving himself, he now spends improving himself. The energy he once poured into being chosen, he now invests in becoming undeniable. And the irony, that's when people start to notice him again. Because nothing draws attention like a man who doesn't seek it. His presence changes. It's quieter but heavier. He walks slower, speaks less, and yet commands more. His peace radiates like armor, invisible but unbreakable. Women who once dismissed him start to wonder why his silence feels louder than their words. Because calmness, real calmness, isn't the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of it. He's not avoiding connection. He's refining it. He no longer wants attention. He wants alignment. This is the evolution of the modern man, from the boy who chased approval to the man who creates purpose. From the lover who begged to be understood to the leader who no longer needs to explain. From the fighter who needed closure to the builder who is the closure. The same silence that once broke him now defines him. The same calmness that once felt like defeat now feels like freedom. He finally understands. The goal was never to win her back. The goal was to win himself back. Because the real victory isn't in proving someone wrong. It's in proving to yourself that you no longer need their chaos to feel alive. So when he walks away, he's not escaping, he's ascending. And for the first time, his peace isn't something he found, it's something he became. That's the calm that terrifies the world. The calm of a man who no longer needs to fight for his worth, because he already knows it.